this.
Will you stop trying to make out that I am responsible? Because I'm not. You are.
The woman who'd played Deirdre Barlow for 42 years was taking a 3-month break from the show. The official statement was brief, professional. Anne Kirkbride requested a slightly extended period of leave from the show, a request the company was happy to grant. That was it. No need for explanation or details. Just a 3-month break from work.
You're nothing but a pathetic slapper, luring other people's husbands into your bed first chance you get.
But the sad part is, Anne never came back. Her last scene aired on October 8, 2014. Deirdre was written off as staying with her friend Bev Unwin until the trial was over. Until Tracy's situation calmed down. Just a temporary absence, except it wasn't temporary.
It's Deirdre, Roy. Are you awake now?
Yes, I think. Where am I?
You're on the Red Wreck.
4 months later, on January 19, 2015, Anne Kirkbride died in a Manchester hospital. She was 60 years old. The truth about why she left Coronation Street, about what she was really facing during those final months, wouldn't come out until much later. And when it did, it revealed a woman who'd been battling far more than anyone knew.
I told you earlier, Ken, no sharing. It's her or me.
Anne Kirkbride was born on June 21, 1954 in Oldham, Lancashire. Her father, Jack Kirkbride, was a cartoonist for the Oldham Evening Chronicle, working class, down to earth. Nothing fancy about it. Anne attended Count Hill Grammar School in Oldham. After leaving school, she joined Oldham Repertory Theatre as an assistant stage manager. She'd help backstage, learning the ropes, watching the actors from the wings. Eventually, she started getting small acting roles herself. In 1972, at 18 years old, Anne landed a part in a Granada television play written by Jack Rosenthal. It was called Another Sunday and Sweet F.A. She played a footballer's girlfriend, cheering from the touchline in hot pants and a yellow knitted hat. It was a small role. Nothing special, but it got her noticed. The casting directors for Coronation Street saw something in her. They offered her a bit part in the soap. Just 3 lines. A girl named Deirdre Hunt drinking in a pub with Alan Howard when his wife Elsie Tanner walked in. Anne was terrified. Years later, she'd admit it. That was my first scene, and I was petrified at the thought of coming into something I'd been watching since the age of 7. She'd grown up watching Coronation Street. Now she was in it. Her first appearance aired in November 1972. The producers liked what they saw. They brought her back for more episodes in 1973. By 1974, Anne signed a full contract. Deirdre Hunt was staying. The character grew quickly. In the early days, Deirdre was a 17-year-old dolly bird, someone who liked a bit of fun. But as the years went on, the character deepened. In 1975, Deirdre married Ray Langton. They had a daughter, Tracy. The marriage fell apart. By the late 1970s, Deirdre had become one of the show's central characters. And then came the glasses, those enormous trademark spectacles that would define Deirdre Barlow for decades. Combined with Anne's husky voice, a result of her heavy smoking, Deirdre became instantly recognizable. Britain fell in love with her. In 1981, Deirdre married Ken Barlow, played by William Roche. More than 24 million people watched that wedding. It was a cultural moment. Ken and Deirdre became soap opera's answer to Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. They'd marry, divorce, have affairs, reunite. The drama never stopped. And through it all, Anne Kirkbride brought something to Deirdre that you couldn't teach. Authenticity, heart, humor. The storylines kept coming. Deirdre's affair with Mike Baldwin in the early 1980s created one of the most famous love triangles in British television history: Ken, Deirdre, and Mike. The feud between Ken and Mike lasted 2 decades. In 1994, Deirdre married Samir Rachid, a man nearly 20 years younger than her. She'd met him on holiday in Morocco. The relationship scandalized Weatherfield. In 1998, Deirdre was wrongly imprisoned for fraud after being duped by a con man named John Lindsay. The storyline became a national obsession. Free the Weatherfield one became a rallying cry. Even Prime Minister Tony Blair mentioned it in the House of Commons. Anne Kirkbride had become more than an actress. She was an institution, but off-screen, Anne was nothing like Deirdre. She wore contact lenses, not glasses. She preferred jeans and shirts, not pinnies and dresses. She was quiet, reserved, deeply private. Fame made her uncomfortable. She found press attention difficult to cope with. But she loved the work. She loved Deirdre. And she loved the Coronation Street family. In 1990, an actor named David Beckett joined the cast of Coronation Street. He played Dave Barton, Deirdre's handyman boyfriend. Anne and David hit it off immediately. Love blossomed on set. On June 24, 1992, they married at Holy Trinity Church in Dobcross. David later left acting to support Anne's career. He became her rock, her constant, her everything. Anne would say later, "It's thanks to Corey that I met my wonderful David. I wouldn't be without him. He adores me and I adore him. What else do you need?" They didn't have children. Anne had thought about it vaguely over the years, but it never happened. She didn't feel she'd missed anything vital. Some documentaries showed women desperate to have a baby. Anne had never felt that way. She and David were enough for each other. In an industry where marriages rarely lasted, David was described as a devoted husband. He'd be with Anne until the very end. The wedding was intimate, small, just the way Anne wanted it. She wore a simple cream suit, not a big white dress. David wore a morning suit. They exchanged vows in front of close friends and family. No tabloid photographers. No press fanfare. Anne had always kept her private life separate from her public persona. This was her day, hers and David's, nobody else's. After the wedding, they settled into a quiet life in Manchester. David gave up acting entirely. It wasn't a sacrifice to him. He wanted to support Anne's career. He'd cook dinner while she learned her lines. He'd run errands while she filmed 12-hour days. He became her safe harbor in an industry that could be brutal and exhausting. Friends described them as inseparable. They'd hold hands walking down the street, finish each other's sentences. David would visit the set regularly, bringing Anne cups of tea, making sure she'd eaten lunch. Anne spoke about their relationship in interviews, though she rarely gave many. She was never comfortable with press attention. But when she did talk about David, her face would light up. "He's my best friend," she'd say. "We laugh all the time. Even when things are tough, we laugh." That laughter would carry them through the darkest times ahead. The Coronation Street cast adored David. He wasn't like other spouses who'd visit set and demand attention. He'd sit quietly in the green room, reading a book, waiting for Anne to finish filming. If she had a particularly emotional scene, he'd be there afterward with a hug and a joke to lift her spirits. Johnny Briggs, who played Mike Baldwin, once said David was the secret to Anne's longevity on the show. She could give everything to Deirdre because she knew David would be there to put her back together at the end of the day. The recovery from lymphoma wasn't just physical for Anne. It was mental, emotional. She'd stared death in the face at 39 years old. That changes a person. When she returned to Coronation Street in 1994, something had shifted. She was more grateful, more present. She didn't take the job for granted anymore. Every script, every scene, every moment with her Coronation Street family felt precious. But the depression that had started during her cancer treatment didn't go away. It lingered. Anne began suffering from severe anxiety. She'd have panic attacks before big scenes. The pressure of being in one of Britain's most watched shows, combined with the trauma of her cancer diagnosis, created a perfect storm of mental health struggles. She sought therapy. She talked to David for hours. Some days, just getting to the studio felt like climbing a mountain. In 1998, when she was surprised on set for This Is Your Life, Anne wasn't in a place to handle it. The cameras, the attention, the public celebration of her life when privately she was barely holding on. She literally ran away from Michael Aspel and his big red book. The producers were mortified. Anne was embarrassed, but she couldn't help it. The anxiety had taken over. Eventually, she did complete the episode, but watching it back, you can see the strain in her eyes, the forced smile, the woman who just wanted to be left alone. Coronation Street was incredibly supportive during this period. They reduced her filming schedule when needed. They gave her time off for therapy appointments. They never pressured her to be more than she could be on any given day. That support meant everything to Anne. It's why she stayed for 42 years, because they treated her like family, not just an employee. The depression would come and go in waves throughout the 2000s. Good months followed by bad months. David learned to recognize the signs. When Anne would go quiet, when she'd stare out the window for hours, when getting out of bed felt impossible. He'd be there, always. David saved my life more than once, Anne told a close friend. Not just from the cancer, from myself. In 1993, Anne faced her first major health crisis. She'd just turned 39. It was the day of her mother's funeral. Anne found a lump on her neck. Tests revealed she had fallen seriously ill, affecting her lymphatic system. It affected her neck. The diagnosis sent her into a deep state of depression. She spoke openly to the British press about her struggle, about how frightening it was, how uncertain. Coronation Street wrote Deirdre out temporarily to allow Anne time to recuperate. The character went to Morocco with Samir. It gave Anne the space she needed for treatment. Fortunately, within a year, she was cured completely. She returned to work in 1994, threw herself back into Deirdre's life. The cancer was behind her. Or so everyone thought. The 2000s brought more memorable storylines. In 2005, Ken and Deirdre remarried. They'd been through everything together: affairs, divorces, betrayals. But they always came back to each other. The drama kept Anne at the center of the show's biggest stories. In 1998, Anne was surprised by Michael Aspel on the set of Coronation Street for This Is Your Life, but she was in the middle of battling severe depression at the time. The surprise overwhelmed her. She ran away during filming. It was a difficult period for Anne. The pressures of fame, the constant work, the public scrutiny. It all took its toll. In 2012, she completed a documentary called Deirdre and Me. A 60-minute special celebrating her 40th year playing Deirdre. It was a love letter to the character, to the show, to the life she'd built. But behind the scenes, Anne was struggling again. Her health was declining. She was a lifelong heavy smoker, 30 cigarettes a day for decades. The smoking had given Deirdre her trademark, husky voice, but it was also destroying Anne's body. By 2014, she was exhausted. The long hours on set, the emotional toll of the storylines, the relentless schedule. It was all becoming too much. On September 29, 2014, ITV made the announcement. Anne Kirkbride was taking a 3-month break from Coronation Street. The statement gave no reason, just that Anne had requested an extended period of leave. The Daily Star reported she was taking a sabbatical to deal with personal affairs. Fans were concerned but not alarmed. Anne had taken breaks before, in 1993 for her lymphoma treatment. This seemed similar. Just a rest, time to recharge. Deirdre left Weatherfield in early October. Her last scene aired on October 8, 2014. She had no idea it would be her final appearance. What the public didn't know was that Anne was already seriously ill. The breast cancer had returned, quietly, aggressively. It had metastasized to her brain. Anne had been diagnosed some time before the September announcement, but she and David kept it private. She didn't want the public scrutiny, didn't want the pity. She just wanted to fight it with dignity, with David by her side. Anne never filmed official goodbye scenes for Deirdre. She'd planned to return after 3 months. That was the intention. Rest, treatment, recovery, then back to work. But the cancer was too aggressive. Within weeks of leaving the show, Anne's condition deteriorated. She was admitted to a hospital in Manchester with severe breathing problems. The cancer had spread. There was nothing more the doctors could do. In those final months at home, Anne and David talked about everything, about their 23 years of marriage, about the life they'd built together, about Coronation Street and all the memories. David would show her old clips of Deirdre's scenes on his laptop. They'd watched together, Anne laughing at her younger self, at those enormous glasses, at the outrageous storylines. "Did I really think that hair looked good?" she'd joke, pointing at an episode from 1985. William Roach visited multiple times in those final weeks. He'd bring flowers, sit by her bedside. They'd reminisce about the early days, about playing Ken and Deirdre for over 40 years, about the love triangle with Mike Baldwin that had made them all household names. "We had some laughs, didn't we?" Anne said to him during one visit. Bill held her hand and nodded. He couldn't speak. The emotion was too raw. Beverly Callard, who played Liz MacDonald, was another regular visitor. She and Anne had become close friends over the years. Bev would sit with Anne, talking about nothing and everything. Normal conversations. No talk of cancer, no talk of dying. Just two friends chatting about the weather, about what was happening on the show, about David's latest attempt at cooking a roast dinner. That normalcy was a gift. It let Anne forget, even for a few minutes, that she was dying. The cast wanted to do more. They wanted to organize something. A tribute, a send-off. But Anne refused. "No fuss," she told David to tell them. "Please, no fuss." She didn't want cameras, didn't want reporters outside the house, didn't want her final days turned into a media circus. She wanted peace. She wanted dignity. She wanted to slip away quietly, the same way she'd lived her life off screen. On her final day, David never left her side. He held her hand, told her how much he loved her, how proud he was of her, how she'd touched millions of lives with her work, how she'd touched his life most of all. Anne Kirkbride died with the man she loved holding her hand in the home they'd shared, surrounded by photographs of their life together. It was exactly how she would have wanted it. The truth about why Anne left Coronation Street wasn't about exhaustion or about wanting a break from Deirdre. It was mainly about survival. She was fighting for her life, and she was losing. David stayed by her side constantly. So did her closest friends from the show. William Roach visited. They'd worked together for over 40 years. He was her on-screen husband and her dear friend. The cast rallied around her, but privately, quietly, the way Anne would have wanted it. By January 2015, Anne was back home in Manchester, surrounded by David, by the people who loved her. She knew the end was coming. On January 19th, 2015, Anne Kirkbride died peacefully at home. She was 60 years old. The news broke that evening. The cast and crew of Coronation Street were devastated. Filming was cancelled the next day as a mark of respect. On January 21st, 2015, just 2 days after Anne's death, the National Television Awards took place at London's O2 Arena. William Roach was there. He stood on stage and paid tribute to his friend, his voice breaking with emotion. "The nation seemed to want us together, and I feel so blessed, honored and privileged to have had those years working with Anne. What we will remember most was the vibrant, warm-hearted, loving person." Adam Woodyat from EastEnders dedicated the Best British Soap Award to Anne. He called her the Weatherfield one, referencing the famous storyline where Deirdre was wrongly imprisoned. It was a moment of unity, East End versus Manchester, forgotten in grief. Anne's funeral took place on January 27, 2015, in a private ceremony. William Roach was there. So were Beverly Callard, Kate Ford, and Johnny Briggs. Her Coronation Street family saying goodbye. On July 8, 2015, Coronation Street aired one of its most heartbreaking episodes. Deirdre's cause of passing was finally revealed. Bev Unwin returned to Weatherfield with devastating news. Deirdre had passed away on the day of her 60th birthday party. A brain aneurysm. Ken, Tracy, and Audrey were together when they heard. The grief on screen mirrored the grief behind the scenes. 5 days later, on July 13th, Deirdre's funeral aired. The street came together to say goodbye to one of their own. It was a fitting tribute. Deirdre Barlow had been at the heart of Coronation Street for 42 years. She'd been through 4 marriages, countless affairs, prison, scandal, heartbreak, joy. She was flawed, and Britain loved her for it. At the 2015 British Soap Awards, Anne posthumously received the Outstanding Achievement Award. David Beckett accepted it on her behalf. He stood on that stage, holding the award his wife would never see, and the room gave him a standing ovation. The legacy. A public memorial service for Anne Kirkbride was held at Manchester Cathedral on May 30th, 2015. Hundreds attended. Cast members, crew and fans who'd grown up watching Deirdre. The service celebrated Anne's life, especially her talent, warmth, and kindness. Coronation Street's executive producer, Kieran Roberts, said it best. Liz Dawn was a true Coronation Street legend, a brilliant actor and a wonderful person. Everyone lucky enough to have worked with Anne during her 42 years playing Corrie icon Deirdre Barlow will remember her with huge affection. William Roach spoke about what Anne meant to the show. She was an impeccable performer with superb comedy timing and an immense gift for really heightened drama. We had some rows over the years as Ken and Deirdre, and it was wonderful to play those scenes opposite her. He'd lost his on-screen wife, his friend, someone he'd worked alongside for over 4 decades. The loss was immeasurable. Anne Kirkbride's truth about leaving Coronation Street wasn't the story anyone wanted. She didn't leave because she was tired of Deirdre. She didn't leave because she wanted a change. She left because her body was failing, because she had fallen ill, because she needed to fight for her life away from the cameras and the scrutiny. She fought with dignity and with David by her side. Many of her friends were also supporting her privately. And when she died, she left behind a legacy that will never fade. Deirdre Barlow will live forever on Coronation Street. Those oversized glasses, that husky laugh, and that fierce loyalty to the people she loved. And Anne Kirkbride, the woman who brought her to life for 42 years, will be remembered as one of British television's greatest treasures. A working-class girl from Oldham who became a national icon. A woman who faced illness twice and fought both times with courage. A wife who adored her husband. An actress who gave everything to her craft. So what do you think? Should Coronation Street have revealed Anne's illness publicly, or was her privacy the right choice? Did Deirdre's farewell do justice to Anne's incredible career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning about Anne Kirkbride's remarkable life and legacy, hit that subscribe button. We'll be bringing you more untold stories from British television's golden age. Thanks for watching.